Stephen Gureno, KOR Sports. We're here with the legendary Jim Lampley. It's a privilege, man. It's an honor for me. Thank you so much for taking the time. I'm sure you've talked a lot about this fight coming up, right? I want to go a little history of it.
Okay.
I feel like the only fighters that have accomplished the feat that Jermell Charlo is attempting to accomplish are special Hall of Fame fighters, right? Shane Mosley, Bernard Hopkins, Roberto Duran, jumped the 2 divisions, first fight out, fought the guy and defeated them. Does a victory over Canelo put Charlo in the likes of, those guys?
Doesn't make him an all-time great. That's a little bit of a leap. Certainly means that he has produced an accomplishment that is shared only with, as you point out, all-time greats. And probably as we enter an era that's likely to see more weight jumping and class changing and hybrid type matchups and things of that nature, maybe we'll see more of this kind of thing as we go along. But any kind of victory for Charlo in this fight is a tremendously meaningful accomplishment against one of the greatest fighters in the last 40, 50 years in boxing, and a fighter who is ranked by some very knowledgeable boxing historians as the greatest Mexican fighter ever. And that's an astonishing distinction when you think about his origins, how resistant a lot of the culture was to him, etc. He has done a lot of amazing things.
Is it fair to put him in that ilk of those guys, to put Canelo in those ilk?
Well, I'm not qualified to say whether it's fair or unfair. I'll be honest with you. I never saw Salvador Sanchez. I did cover a number of Julio Cesar Chavez fights, so I can talk about Chavez. And obviously, he got close to 100-0. He had a lot of sizzling, amazing performances, but he also lost twice to Oscar De La Hoya, and he lost once to Meldrick Taylor, in my view. It's not a loss on the record, but he was not, in my view, the winner of the fight. He was given a win. So I think that you can certainly look at Canelo's record, look at the challenges he's taken on, look at the weight divisions in which he has performed, the fact that he won a light heavyweight matchup against a very meaningful fighter, all of those kinds of things, and say, sure, I don't know if I'm ready to say he's the greatest Mexican fighter of all time, and I don't know if I am educated enough as an expert in the sport to make that evaluation, but he's in the discussion. He's got to be in the discussion.
I would argue that you are qualified to make that, just being who you are.
That's kind of you.
I want to ask, just you have so much history, with you. I feel like, what was maybe the most shocking moment for Larry Merchant in the sport of boxing?
The most shocking moment for Larry? Well, I think the most shocking moment for
your own. I'm sorry, because I have another Larry Merchant question that messed up. But the most shocking moment for yourself.
Most shocking moment for me. Well, the natural answer to this would be either one of two things. And the first one would be Buster Douglas's knockout victory over Mike Tyson in Tokyo on February 10, 2000, and the second one would be George Foreman's knockout victory over Michael Moorer, November 5, 1994, in this building. But I think in both instances there were tea leaves. Certainly in the case of Douglas Tyson was being given credit by everybody for being a world beater. Nobody seemed to notice or pay attention to the fact that in the years leading into the fight with Douglas, he went the distance with James Quick Tillis up in Albany. There were some ringside scorers who had Tillis winning the fight. He went the distance with Mitch Blood Green. He went the distance with Tony Tucker. He went to the last 10 seconds with Jose Ribalta. What did they all have in common? They were all taller than Mike. They all had a jab, and they all had at least some facility for throwing the right hand. Douglas was the best athlete of them all. If you paid attention to that, you might have said to yourself, you know what? One of these times, Mike isn't going to see the right hand coming over the top, and this was the time when it happened. So it was 42-1 odds, arguably the biggest upset in the history of boxing, but I want to say a really super intelligent analyst might have seen that one coming. Foreman, I didn't think Foreman had a chance against Moore, all right? And he was my expert commentator at that time. I was spending a lot of time with him. And I've told this story a lot, so forgive me for repetition if you've heard it, but in the months leading up to Foreman Moore, I would find various moments in time, the crew meal, after the rehearsal, quiet moments at ringside, and I would find an occasion to say, George, how are you going to beat Moore? I mean, Holyfield couldn't find him, and Holyfield has much better feet than you have. He's a left-handed mover. He's 26 years old and unbeaten. How are you going to beat him? And George would say to me, over and over, every time, you watch, Jim. There will come a moment late in the fight when he will come and stand in front of me and let me knock him out. Now, think of the words. He will come and stand in front of me and let me knock him out. Look at the video in your mind. It's unbelievable that how did he know that? You know, the only logical answer is he set him up. He knew what he was doing. He allowed Moore to bat him around the ring like a tennis ball for 9 rounds. He gave Moore every bit of confidence and self-assurance that he could possibly give him. If you watch the beginning of the 10th round, you'll see George throw some roundhouse left hooks, a punch he had not thrown at any other time in the fight. What was he doing? He moved Moore over about a foot. He moved him over to a place where the right hand would be straight instead of a loop. George's power was always biggest when the punch was delivered straight on from the shoulder. So he got Moore into the position where he could do that, and Moore let him knock him out. And that's why my call of that moment is it happened. It happened because I was watching the count. I was thinking to myself, why the hell didn't you prepare for this? Why did you give him no chance whatsoever? Why do you not have a "do you believe in miracles" line for this? And then suddenly I remembered all those times I had asked him, and he had said, you watch, this is what's going to happen. And what came out was, it happened. It happened. I was responding to George, really, but it was the best possible line for the audience, too. So those are shocking moments. And then the third one, also gut-wrenchingly shocking, is Richard Steele stopping Chavez Taylor with 2 seconds left and taking away from a young, rising, potential superstar fighter, an Olympic gold medalist, the biggest win of his career. You know, we can debate from now until doomsday whether that was a good job of refereeing or a bad job of refereeing, but I lose a little bit of sleep every once in a while just thinking about Meldrick and what that did to him.
And kind of thinking about what it could have done for him, right? And the opposite is because
his life could have been.
100%.
Yeah.
My Larry Merchant question was, what is your favorite Larry Merchant moment?
Oh, well, my favorite Larry Merchant moment, of course, is if I were 50 years younger, I'd kick your ass, you know, and the thing I most love about that is that, very literally, from the moment that Larry said that about Mayweather on our air on Saturday night until the moment when you could buy a T-shirt on the Santa Monica Pier in California with Larry's picture and that caption, that's about 16 or 18 hours. No more than that. By the following afternoon, you could buy that T-shirt on the Santa Monica Pier.
That's pretty amazing how quickly things like that happen.
That's the modern world. That's modern marketing, you know, with a picture of Larry, with that wacky expression of his. Yeah, exactly.
That's great. You and Larry still close? You guys communicate and things like that?
Every once in a while. He's living a quiet life. We got an oceanside apartment in Santa Monica, right up above that pier. And
shirts.
he gets, yeah, exactly. Gets to look at the ocean every afternoon. I'm very happy for him.
Jim, this has been a pleasure, man. It happened for me. It happened for me. Thank you so much. Definitely catch Jim. You're going to be doing the live chat, correct? For the
At ppv.com, something I've never done before, a new mode of expression. I like those. A way to editorialize about the boxing match, somewhat more perhaps in the vein of what Larry and Max used to do than what I did calling blow by blow. So I'm really looking forward to it. I work with Lance Pugmire, a great boxing writer from deep background, Los Angeles Times and other outlets, and I'm very excited about representing ppv.com Saturday night, as I have represented them here in this room all week long.
fans are excited too, man. It's great to have you back. It's kind of crazy that you're on the Showtime. You know, there's a Showtime broadcast. Obviously, you know, HBO. That's a little.
Friends. I mean, Mauro's a friend. Al Bernstein is a friend. Stephen Espinoza, the guy who runs the division, another friend. And we work together. People forget I did both Tyson Lewis and Mayweather Pacquiao, and they were both shared pay-per-views where I was going to production meetings with those guys, and have a lot of respect for them.
A lot of respect for you, Jim. Thank you so much for your time. God bless you, sir. Thank you.